Quick question. Have you ever been so tired, not just sleepy tired, but deep in the bones, can't generate a thought tired, and you still felt guilty for not getting things done? That's ADHD burnout, and it's not the same thing as regular burnout, no matter how many articles treat them the same way. Today we're going to break down what ADHD burnout actually is, how to recognize it before you're completely underwater, and a real recovery protocol that doesn't require you to become a different person. Let's get into it. Welcome to Wisdom from the Porch. I'm GP. This is Wisdom from the Porch. Regular burnout happens when you've done too much for too long. Rest helps. Time off helps. You come back and you're functional again. ADHD burnout is different. It happens when you've been masking, performing neurotypicality for too long. When you've been white-knuckling your way through systems that require consistent executive function your brain doesn't naturally have. When you've used every ounce of cognitive and emotional energy just to appear normal. Here's the thing about ADHD and the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for planning, organization, time management, and impulse regulation. In ADHD brains, this region is running on a different neurochemical fuel system. Dopamine and norepinephrine availability are inconsistent, which means every time you force yourself through a task that doesn't generate its own dopamine, every email, every deadline, every form you didn't want to fill out, you're spending cognitive currency you don't get automatically refilled overnight. Over time, the debt compounds, and ADHD burnout is what happens when the account hits zero. What makes it brutal is the shame layer, because from the outside, you don't look burned out. You look like someone who's been managing just fine. Nobody sees the internal cost of the management. And that invisibility makes the burnout feel even more like a personal failure instead of a neurological reality. Let me walk you through the 4 signs I see most often. You might recognize all 4 or just 2 or 3. Either way, this is your roadmap. Sign 1, executive function collapse. The things that were hard become impossible, not metaphorically, literally impossible. You sit down to send one email and you can't initiate. You look at a task that would take 15 minutes and your brain produces nothing. Not resistance, nothing. It's like trying to start a car with no battery. This is your executive function system hitting empty. The planning, sequencing, and initiation circuits are offline. And the harder you push, which is the ADHD instinct, the deeper you go. Sign 2, emotional dysregulation gets worse. When you're in ADHD burnout, the emotional volume turns all the way up. Frustration that normally lands at a 4 hits like an 8. Disappointment spirals into shame in 30 seconds. Small inconveniences feel catastrophic. This isn't you being dramatic. It's your emotional regulation circuits being the last system standing when everything else has already shut down. Sign 3, sensory overload accelerates. Things that were manageable become overwhelming. The background noise that you could tune out now feels like it's right in your ear. Lights feel too bright. Your own clothes might feel wrong on your skin. Your nervous system, already running at high capacity, loses its ability to filter. Everything comes through at full signal, no buffer. Sign 4, the hyperfocus disappears. This one surprises people. ADHD burnout doesn't just affect the hard stuff. It takes the good stuff too. The hyper-focus states, the creative bursts, the deep dive energy that makes ADHD a superpower in the right conditions. Those go quiet. Because hyper-focus requires dopamine availability. Burnout depletes it. When the thing you rely on to feel capable and alive stops showing up, that's when ADHD burnout starts to look like depression. And I want to say that clearly. ADHD burnout and depression share symptoms. If you're in burnout, you need recovery, not a diagnosis upgrade. But if burnout is ongoing and untreated, it can become depression. This is why recovery matters and why we're talking about it today. Here's your recovery framework. 3 steps, not 3 days. This takes weeks, but these 3 things done consistently will bring your system back online. Step 1, stop spending, start recovering. This means identifying your highest cost activities, the things that drain your executive function fastest, and reducing them to the absolute minimum for now. I'm not telling you to quit your job. I'm telling you to stop volunteering for extra. Stop saying yes to anything that isn't critical. Let the non-essentials go without apology. The ADHD recovery instinct is to do more, to push through, to prove to yourself you're not broken. That instinct is exactly wrong in burnout. You can't earn your way out of depletion by depleting more. Step 2, dopamine restock through low-effort joy. This isn't the same as rest. Rest is absence of demand. Dopamine restocking is active. It requires doing things that generate reward without requiring executive function. For different people, that's different things. Music that moves you, a walk without a destination, something with your hands, cooking, building, drawing. A show you've seen before that doesn't require processing. This is not laziness. This is neurochemical maintenance. You're filling your tank. It feels unproductive because productivity culture has taught you that rest without output is waste. This is not waste. It's the only way back. Step 3, reduce masking even by 10%. Masking is expensive. Every minute you spend performing neurotypicality is a minute your real nervous system is running in overdrive behind the scenes. You can't stop masking entirely in most environments, but you can reduce it. Find one space in your day where you don't perform, where you can stim if you need to, speak in fragments, move around, be weird, be quiet. It doesn't have to be long. 10 minutes of being fully yourself costs nothing and recovers more than an hour of forced stillness. Stop spending. Restock dopamine. Reduce masking. That's the protocol. Start with one today. ADHD burnout is real. It's measurable, and it's not a character flaw. It's what happens when a brain that was built differently is asked to perform like one that wasn't, indefinitely, without accommodation, with shame as the primary motivator. You don't recover from that by trying harder. You recover from it by finally giving yourself what you actually needed all along. Your one next step this week? Make a list of your 3 highest cost activities. Not to eliminate them, just to name them. Awareness is the first move. Share this episode with someone who keeps saying they're just tired. They might be a lot more than tired. A Spotify review means the world if you haven't left one. And as always, thank you to Cloud Microphones for supporting these conversations. This has been Wisdom from the Porch. I'm GP. You're always welcome on the porch.